Welcome back to MidPoint. Former political director for the NRA, now president of the Independent Firearm Owners Association, Richard Feldman, and the staff attorney for the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence in San Francisco, Allison Anderman. Now, let me just get to the mentally unstable part of this, because Allison brings up the point, and Richard, I'm sure you've heard this. There's a big question about the mentally unstable getting their hands on weapons here. A lot of it comes to responsibility, parents making sure kids don't get a hold of it, some responsibility to make sure you lock them up. But why can't the NRA, and I guess this is a subject of question here, get ahead of this movement a little bit? Why doesn't the NRA take all the money and all the power they have and say, we want to do something positive, let's try to do something about the mental health issue? Because wouldn't that make them seem as if they're really trying to get to the core of the problem instead of sitting back and basically puffing up their chest and going, it's our way or the highway?
Well, I asked the question of Michael Bloomberg. With his $30 billion, he could spend a lot more money leading the fight for mental health reform in this country and providing the services for those who are seriously troubled before they resort to any kind of violence.
No, I understand that, but let's keep it on the NRA. The NRA has a tremendous amount of money and a tremendous amount of political clout in Washington. Wouldn't it just be good for them to get ahead of this?
They have no expertise in the subject matter of mental health. It's just not their issue. So looking to them to weigh in on this is as kind of foolish as asking the American Automobile Association to take a position on airplane flying.
But they could at least try to help. Okay, they could at least try to help, though. They could at least try to get a hold of somebody and try to help, can't they? I mean, just because I'm not a brain surgeon doesn't mean I can't ask somebody who has expertise in brain surgery about how to get a job done.
Well, you're on the air. Let's ask.
Okay, but I'm saying, would you not agree, though, that it would be a good idea, though, for the NRA to get out ahead of this? Don't you think it would be a good idea?
I don't know what it is that they can get out ahead of from the gun community. Okay. They're experts in firearm safety, but not in mental health.
Okay, Allison, I'm going to turn it to you.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion, Ed, and the NRA can and should support the mentally ill, support laws that ensure that the mentally ill and mentally unstable individuals do not have access to guns. And in fact, the NRA used to do just that. After Columbine, Wayne LaPierre came out and said, of course we support background checks. Background check laws are reasonable. His position and that of the NRA has changed over time, and I'm not sure why. The only thing I can think of when 90% of Americans and 70% of NRA members support background check laws is that the NRA does not represent gun owners or the American people. It represents the gun lobby, people who want to sell guns. That's the only explanation I have. But absolutely, the NRA should support laws that prevent mentally ill people from accessing guns.
And by the way, I want to make it very clear here. I was brought up in a home that had guns around it all the time. I was taught about them. I was raised. I mean, I'm someone who has guns in my home. I'm very open about it as well. So it's not as if I'm sitting there on the other side saying I don't have one, because here's a poll that basically backs up the fact that America feels they need the guns. 63% of Americans believe having a gun in the house makes it a safer place to be. That's more than double since the year 2000. But I guess, Richard, what a lot of people will point to is they're basically saying that Republicans, Southerners, and men are most likely to have guns. So, but let's deal with the fallacy of that. People do feel safer with their guns, and they feel there's a reason to have them, correct?
That's why the police carry them, because they feel safer with them than without them. The fact is, that it's true. If you need the gun and you don't have it, you can't use it. It's equally true that if you're a disturbed individual with a gun, it's probably more dangerous for those people, much more dangerous to have it than to not have it.
All right.
So it's situational.
So I got about a minute left here. Richard, from you, very briefly, what's a good place to start to bring both sides together, in your opinion?
You know, there's really more agreement on this issue than it really comes to the fore initially. Why don't we start with firearm safety and promoting firearm safety? We can all agree, Allison, I don't want to speak for you, but I'll assume that you're in favor of firearm safety training, and people that have guns should be safe and aware of all the safety mechanisms and how to keep and store those guns around the home in the safest manner possible.
Okay, so firearm safety, there's a good point now. 30 seconds, Allison, to you. Where's the midpoint we need to start at?
Background checks are the midpoint. It's not an extreme position. Like I've said, the overwhelming majority of the American people want these laws, and they are the single most important law that we can enact to keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people.
Allison, couldn't you answer the question?
Yeah, but would you also go, what about, very briefly though, Allison, would you go for gun safety programs?
Safe storage laws that require people to safely store their firearms at home so that they're not accessible to children or people who are stealing guns are also very important laws that can reduce gun violence.
Okay,
yes.
I tell you what, we are out of time right now. I know that Richard wanted to weigh in with a little more. Allison, I know you've got a little more promise. We're going to have you both back. We will continue this discussion, and I thank you both for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After a short break, the President and the Congress. Why, there's no reason to be so shocked that at the end of the day they don't get along. And at 51 minutes after the hour, spanning the globe, right here on MidPoint.